If I wanted to destroy my chances of building a good physique, of building muscle, of losing fat at the same time, these are 11 things that I do. The first thing that I would do that would absolutely compromise my ability to change my physique, to really get in the best shape, would be not take care of my gut health. I would compromise my gut health. And this is something that really flies under the radar for a lot of people because we tend to think of just calories in and calories out. But at the end of the day, we have to remember the gut is where everything is absorbed. But not only that, if the gut health is compromised, we have a big influx of inflammation. I mean, if you look in the actual scientific settings, what they do to induce inflammation within rodents or even within other models is they damage the gut or they increase lipopolysaccharides, which are what are basically seeping through the gut and inducing inflammation. So if the gut is compromised, the body's inflamed, which impedes muscle building, which definitely impedes fat loss, which disrupts metabolic function. So what I would do is I'd avoid things like alcohol. That's an obvious one. I would also avoid overuse of NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. So these don't just temporarily damage the gut, these can long-term degrade the gut mucosal layer, which makes it so that your line of defense between really having a healthy gut and having things that get into your bloodstream completely compromised. So there's a reason that people talk about this and talk about reducing the use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Okay, now the other thing that I would do is I would reduce things like polysorbate 80, polysorbate 20, anything that says polysorbate in it. Now, this is one of those things where people might say, hey, you're just demonizing an ingredient. But when I had Dr. Jacob Torres on my channel, he was talking about how they literally use polysorbate to induce inflammation and to induce gut damage. It's an emulsifier and it breaks down the gut mucosal layer. I'm not saying it's going to destroy your chances of being fit. I'm saying if you're focused on gut health and you're focused on the downstream effects of a bad gut or a good gut, you may want to pay attention to polysorbates. The next thing that would really destroy my chances long-term of having a good physique, I would be all fight or flight all the time. I would focus on all stimulants, right? I would just caffeine up, I would yohimbine up, I would do everything I can because pushing through is how we burn fat, right? And I've seen so many people make that mistake, and what it leads to is burnout. Not only burnout, but all kinds of different systemic burnout, right? You're not just fatigued mentally, but then you end up exhausting your body. You're never giving yourself a chance to have that parasympathetic tone. That's a big mistake that I made when I was on my weight loss journey, is I didn't pay attention to the relaxation piece and how that it really is at least 50% of the game, possibly even more. So if you're focusing on just loading up on stimulants and getting as much activity as you possibly can, you're focusing on the wrong thing. It needs to be a sustainable piece, and that is a good, surefire way to destroy your chances at building muscle and losing fat. The third thing sounds kind of obvious, but it has to be said. If I wanted to compromise my physique, I would not prioritize protein. And it sounds so simple, but I want you to look at your plate. I want you to look at your choices throughout the day. Is protein the first thing that you're focusing on? That should be the first thing that you're focusing on with every single meal. Whether it's a snack, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, everything falls into place there. But the moment that people start to slip, I can almost invariably tell you that it's when the protein starts to disappear off their plate. They start saying, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna go have some rice and this and that, and I can't get protein with this meal. I'm telling you, every meal that you don't have protein with is one step closer to not reaching what you're after, okay? Even your snacks should really be focused on protein. Chomp sticks, meat sticks, some beef jerky. Sure, have other snacks if you need to, but prioritize that protein as well. I put a link down below for Thrive Market, because if it comes down to like really stocking your pantry and having things in your fridge and having things the way that you want it, they really put their best foot forward. I want to load my house up with the right things. So that is a 30% off discount link for all your groceries at Thrive Market on your first order. So you go to Thrive Market, you can sort by protein, you can sort by diet type, you can sort by gluten-free, all kinds of things, and everything gets delivered to your doorstep. The thing that I love about Thrive Market is they focus on the ingredient quality first. And this day and age, especially in 2025, we're starting to focus on ingredients and nutrient quality. And I really appreciate that Thrive Market has been preaching this for years, and now they're getting the recognition they deserve because their focus is on the highest quality ingredients and no hidden nastiness and weird nefarious things in there. So if you want a safe place to shop that has good quality stuff and you can prioritize protein, check out Thrive Market. So again, 30% off your entire first grocery order plus a free gift when you use my special link down below. The next thing that would compromise a physique or building muscle or burning fat would be taking my workouts and only focusing on work capacity. What does that mean? Well, work capacity is where you're focusing on things like, let's say, how much volume can you get, or how long can you sustain something hard? That works as an athlete or as a CrossFit competitor, but it's a good recipe for burnout once again. And you're never giving yourself the opportunity to maximize, not optimize, but maximize what you need to do with resistance training and maximize what you need to do with cardio or aerobic training. Work capacity training is where you say, I'm gonna go to Orange Theory and I'm just gonna blast myself for 45 minutes. But you're not getting good at any one thing. And there's nothing wrong with those Orange Theory workouts. There's nothing wrong with CrossFit. I train like that a lot of times, but I also make sure that I dedicate time to resistance training and dedicate time to aerobic training. And if all else fails and I only have time to choose one kind of thing, I'm gonna do that kind of training before I do a HIIT style training, because I know that in the long run, the dedicated, not necessarily work capacity type work is going to help me out. If I have more time in abundance, then the work capacity workouts end up in the mix. The fifth one is probably one of the biggest, most important ones. If I was gonna compromise my physique, or I was gonna warn someone on what would compromise their physique, it would be do not calorically restrict without regard to your basal metabolic rate. I mean, this is the classic example that we see with people that hop on Ozempic. And I don't really even have a problem with Ozempic. I just have a problem with the lack of education around it. People stop eating, they eat a lot less, their basal metabolic rate goes down, they come off the drug, boom, the weight comes right back as well as the appetite. So there's no regard for the basal metabolic rate. The ideal way to really lose weight is to keep the calories moderately high and increase your activity level. And I've talked about this so many times, I'm sorry if you've heard it before, but it's called G-Flux. Move more and eat more. That's gonna increase the overall just net expenditure, but you're also keeping your intake relatively high, so you're not crashing your metabolism. It's a really important thing. The sixth thing that I would do that would destroy a physique, or that I would avoid doing in this case, is getting a lot of my calories from liquid calories. It has to do with GLP-1, which we all know about a little bit now with Ozempic, but it comes to do with just how quickly you can get a satiety response. You don't get a quick satiety response with liquid calories. Now, I'm not talking about the occasional protein shake. In fact, I recommend having protein shakes somewhat frequently. I'm talking about really getting your calories. Smoothies, all kinds of different shakes, going to, if you're in the LA area, Erewhon and getting a $25 shake that has 80 grams of sugar. These kinds of things, although they seem healthy on the surface, they may have micronutrients, they may have the things that you're looking at, but they are total calorie bombs. Okay? These things are not just calorie bombs either. They're calorie bombs that do not initiate a GIP or GLP-1 response very well because they absorb so fast. So those calories that you're getting in, rest assured, you're getting them, and you're probably not getting much of a satiety response. So that's a great way to mistakenly destroy a physique or your chances of really building muscle and burning fat. The seventh thing is you obliterate yourself so much in the gym that you're inactive during the rest of the day. This happens, and it happens very sneakily to people that aren't aware. Fitness people might recognize it. I trained hard, energy balance, I can relax a little bit the rest of the day. People that are not seasoned, which we have to realize is 96% of people, right? People don't fully grasp it because they haven't been experiencing it, right? So it's no fault to them, and that's why I'm here to explain this, right? You go and you train hard, you're obliterated. It feels like you have a license to relax the rest of the day, or you're just exhausted, so you do relax the rest of the day. But at the end of the day, your net movement actually ended up less, right? You did a bunch of squats, maybe a collective total of 5 sets or something like that of 10, 50 squats. Just an example. How much movement is that really? Not that much, but you're super sore from it, right? Now, you're getting an effect from the weightlifting and all that, yes. But at what cost? The cost is you obliterated yourself so much that now, instead of getting 15,000 steps today, you got 3,000. That matters. One of the biggest drivers for losing weight is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. You should do what you can to optimize that. Energize yourself, stimulate yourself, and be able to move throughout the day. This next one's gonna get me in trouble, but you know what? Instead of dancing around it, I'm just gonna hit it head on. If you're replacing good quality fats, like good quality whole foods, meats, the occasional tallow, olive oil, if you're replacing these things with seed oils because they're inconvenient snack foods, or because maybe you're just drinking the Kool-Aid that it's a polyunsaturated fat and it's super good for you, and I mean that, not that saying that polyunsaturated fats are bad, I mean that a lot of these foods are disguised. They say, hey, healthy polyunsaturated fat, but it really is just an oxidized seed oil. It's probably not that great, and it's just high calorie, inducing appetite, and not having much nutritional value. Without getting into the inflammatory mechanisms, without getting into all the nuance, the reality is that they're cheap. And if you start replacing things and believing that those are good for you in lieu of the nutritious fats, you're gonna have a problem. The other case is most of the foods that are containing these seed oils are also high calorie bombs anyway. This next one is a big one, and it's easy, so you might skip over it, but I have practical tips. It's not sleeping. One of the quickest ways to destroy how you look literally overnight is not sleeping. You can take someone that is very fit, sleep deprive them for a few days, and you'll notice a change in their physique. They will be holding water, they will look inflamed, their joints will hurt, they won't want to train. It is probably the quickest way to sabotage your muscle building and your overall fat loss. Absolutely the quickest way, because it hits you in so many different angles. I'm gonna give you real factors, real things that you can change. Alcohol and THC should be out the window. Even if they help knock you out, they reduce that REM sleep and you're not getting what you need. When I had Dr. Jalal Band on this channel, he is a Harvard sleep researcher. He was straight up telling me, like, if you're not getting REM sleep, you're gonna be messed up, period. He studies REM, he's an expert in REM. It was awesome and wild and eye-opening at the same time. Another piece that people forget is just not getting sunlight. Think of it as, in order to get enough darkness in your mind at night, you need to have enough brightness during the day, period. So go out and just stand out in the sun. You will be amazed at what going out and getting 20 minutes of good solid sunlight. People are like, oh, when I go on vacation, I sleep so much better. A couple factors, you're probably relaxed, yes, but you're also probably outside. Like if I go to Hawaii or something like that, I'm out in the sun all day. I sleep like a rock. And I'm arguably less active in Hawaii than I am at home because my training's a little off. I might be walking, but I'm outside and I'm sleeping like a rock. And candidly, I'm usually still filming. I'm usually still working. I'm doing all the things I would do. I'm just in a different environment. It's the blessing and the curse of what I do for work. I'm very grateful that I have this opportunity to be able to do that. But at the same time, it comes with me everywhere. The only thing that really changes is sun. The other one is lack of sleep pressure. Simple input output, right? If you go and you are active, you're probably going to sleep better, period. Sleep pressure. You build up adenosine, it makes you sleep well. Okay, my father-in-law is a perfect example. He's a great guy. I've been helping him on his weight loss journey. And when I get him active, even just more than usual, all of a sudden he's sleeping and he suffers with his sleep for years or decades. It's so simple, and a lot of people experience that. The other thing is just eating on cue. Try to eat around the same times in the evening time. That just makes a big difference. I'm not too worried about what time you eat before bed. Don't even focus on that. Just try to eat around the same time. The 10th thing is one that I catch a lot of flack about. That is combining fats and carbohydrates excessively. Look at, when I had Dr. Ben Bickman on this channel, an insulin scientist, he pretty much told me straight up, yes, if you're having high amounts of insulin from carbohydrates and fats at the same time, you are going to, A, impede lipolysis, the ability to burn fat, but you also increase the risk of storing fat. Now, I'm not saying some almonds and a little bit of apple and a chicken breast is a problem. I'm talking about really consciously combining fats and carbs. Ice cream, things that kind of make sense to be problematic, right? If you were to just separate your fats and separate your carbs in different meals, eggs and bacon in one meal and chicken and fruit in another meal, you probably notice a big difference. And the 11th one, which is one that is huge, if you are not fit and active yet, it's foolish to not manage insulin. All the people online, the fitness people, are telling you carbs don't matter, insulin doesn't matter. They're fit. If you are metabolically healthy, it doesn't matter that much. You're oxidizing carbohydrates, you're oxidizing fats, things are working the way it's supposed to, but if you are not metabolically healthy and you are not keeping track and managing carbohydrate and insulin levels based on your activity, it's gonna be a problem. People that are metabolically damaged, which is unfortunately over 90% of us in America, it's gonna be problematic if your carbohydrate intake is consistently high and your blood sugar is high. If your insulin, your chronic hyperinsulinemia, it's gonna make it easier to store fat. It just is. So we have to get our metabolism in check before we can have the flexibility with carbohydrates that we want. As always, keep it locked here on my channel. I'll see you tomorrow.